I looked up and saw that the light was really there. It was moving forward, backward, and it went down. It looked like a fluorescent light. It was a whitish blue in color. It was long. The things looked like a ship that was moving like this.
Recently, I was contacted by UFO witnesses living in different parts of Malaysia to share their paranormal encounters. I also learned that old religious texts also spoke about visitations by ETs and UFOs. Today, scientists are also exploring the possibilities of lives in outer space. However, why is there no solid proof that these UFO sightings are real, even when there have been so many reports worldwide? In this episode, I will speak to UFO witnesses, researchers, scientists, and a special individual who communicates with aliens or star beings. Let's find out more about the UFO Enigma. Earth has been visited by heavenly bodies from outer space such as meteors, asteroids, and comets. Some have crash-landed many thousands of years ago. But do extraterrestrial beings exist, and have we been visited by UFOs? The term UFO was officially created in 1953 by the United States Air Force. It was stated that a UFO was any airborne object which cannot be positively identified as a familiar object. This is a drone used for aerial photography, which I am sure most of you are familiar with. But how often could this be mistaken for perhaps a UFO? I'm interested to find out more about the characteristics of a UFO and its movements. Stay with me.
What is that? Emma,
Saya tengok
I saw the light at 8 o'clock at night.
cahaya api itu amat pelik sekali.
The light was very weird. It was moving like the headlights of a car.
Dia memang nampak.
It was very high up in the sky, as tall as the coconut trees, and I saw it continuously for 3 nights.
Cahaya itu pelik.
For me, the light looked strange because I have never seen anything like that before. It was orange in color, circular, and moved down slowly into the bushes near my village. In the course of my research, I was introduced to a prominent Malaysian UFO researcher, Mr. Ahmad Jamaluddin, in short, AJ. AJ is 61 years old and a retired bacteriologist who has been researching on UFOs for 35 years. He definitely believes that UFOs are real, but to him, aliens do not live among humans and are not here to harm us. Let's find out more.
I've spent over 35 years trying to find some statistic and indication that this UFO phenomenon is something real. I have produced a book and I believe it is proof that UFOs do exist.
Share some of the key evidence or proof that you've come across in your research that tells us that UFOs exist.
We have billions and billions of galaxies and planets. So it is life does not flourish only on Earth. There must be other Earth-like planets. They must be intelligent enough to find a way of traversing interstellar space. The problem is that this is only a transient. They come and go in a very short time. We don't have enough time to take our cameras and take them. So what we get is a very short report. That's why most people don't believe. But if you study them clearly, they leave behind footprints and other physical events, physical traces on the ground. So what we can do is that study this physical evidence to prove that they have been there.
People who have had sightings of UFOs, how do you explain that? What did they see? Accounts of UFO sightings by witnesses happen not only in Malaysia but also in other parts of the world. On the night of July 7, 2010 at about 9 p.m, a UFO was spotted over Hangzhou Shaoshan International Airport in China, causing it to suspend about 18 flights. Was it a UFO piloted by an alien, a special man-made aircraft, or the reflection of planet Venus as claimed by some?
Kalau lampu expo mesti dari bawah.
If the light was from an outdoor carnival, then the light source was from below. But this light, it was moving from left to right and right to left. It was very bright.
Dia pergi tak ada bang.
It moved to the front, turned around, then moved back.
When somebody report a light in the sky, if the light is moving just in a straight line, it is usually an airplane flying at high altitude. But if that light suddenly zigzag across the sky or make 90 degrees turn, then that is not a natural object from Earth. It has to be a UFO. They can go from high speed, suddenly stop and move 90 degrees.
The witnesses in Terengganu were quite clear that the light that they saw in the sky was not the spotlight from a carnival in the neighbouring town, nor was it from a normal aircraft. What could it be? Could it really be a UFO? In the next segment, we'll find out more about UFOs and why they are interested to visit Earth.
I believe what I saw was a UFO.
All of a sudden, I saw an object and then it just disappeared.
They tried to capture. One of them was shot.
I went to Penang to meet with a family who had seen UFOs in the late 1980s. And going further back in time, I also visited a primary school in Bukit Mertajam, whereby it was reported in 1970 that little aliens landed in a bush nearby in a miniature spaceship and shot at students who were trying to capture them. In 1988 at 6:45 a.m, while returning home on a motorcycle from work, at the golf course, Kak Saumya saw appearing from a distance amongst the rubber trees a globe of translucent blue light heading towards her. She was shocked.
Warna kebiru-biruan. It was blue in color and it was round. There was a light and it was very bright. What I saw was not an ordinary object. It was very strange. I believe what I saw was a UFO.
How has this sighting changed your life and how you feel?
Makcik rasa macam bertuah pun ada. I feel that I'm lucky to have seen something I have never imagined before. But I believe that what I saw was real.
Mazwin, the inquisitive daughter of Kak Saumya, in 1990 at the age of 10, saw a light hovering over the cemetery of Padang Tembak. She was sitting on a motorcycle together with her dad and sister on the way to visit her grandfather.
Tiba-tiba saya terpandang satu objek.
All of a sudden, I saw an object that didn't look like a normal aircraft. When I looked from below, I saw a big circle that was surrounded by many tiny rings. It emitted light that was yellow and white in color. It was bright and spinning like this in high speed for about 10 to 15 seconds, and then it just disappeared.
Perkara ni, this object, to say that I don't believe in it, it is not true because it does exist. After I have seen a UFO, it is an experience not common to many. So I do think I am privileged.
Saya memang percaya benda ni wujud UFO ni.
I surely believe that UFOs exist. When my mother and sister saw it, and I have seen it with my own eyes, I feel that it was a very fortunate encounter.
That influenced you to further study more about astronomy, research for UFOs.
Memang sangat memberi kesan kepada saya.
It definitely left an impact on me. Since then, I started to create my own scrapbook to collect pictures of planets, stars, moons, and nebulas. It became my interest. When we look up at the sky, it shows and makes us think that this universe is huge and how tiny we are. And so, we have to appreciate God's creation.
Kak Saumya and her family consider themselves lucky to have witnessed 2 separate UFOs. However, I am curious as to what the alien pilots want when they drop by Earth for these random visits.
They are basically interested in 4 things. First is to study the human body physically and genetically. That's why they do the abduction. Second, they would like to study human psychology. The other thing is that they like to collect all this fauna and flora and water samples for analysis. And lastly, they like to observe our civilization. They always remind us that we are not preserving our ecology. We will destroy ourselves one day. They are very concerned about that. They do not want us to destroy planet Earth. They say if we destroy Earth, we will destroy theirs also.
A UFO landed in a school in Zimbabwe on 16 September 1994, witnessed by 60 children. Beings that look like aliens told the frightened kids that we must protect the environment of the Earth, as explained by AJ earlier. In 1970, there were sightings of 3-inch spacemen and mini UFOs at Stowell Primary School in Penang, Malaysia. I went to Stowell to meet with a retired teacher and a former student to find out what happened 45 years ago.
Can you tell me a bit more about this incident in 1970?
As far as I know, it did happen in this area. The story was that the aliens landed here.
They said they were playing there, and then they saw this 3-inch spaceman, and then they tried to capture the 3-inch spaceman, and then one of them was shot. And then I said, "You show me your finger, is it true?" And I saw there was this mark, and then I was still very skeptical.
Were there any other investigations by authorities?
Yes, police. They say, as a police officer with the experience, so the way they answer, they said they told the truth.
The mini UFO and little spacemen were initially spotted by a group of boys, playing near the bushes outside of their school. It was said that the tiny aliens shot at a 10-year-old student who tried to capture him. One of the boys drew pictures of the aliens and explained that the leader was wearing a yellow costume and he wore a crown.
Did you at some point, listening to any of them, felt that maybe it could be true?
When I talked to them, one of them cried and told me, "Sir, why can't you all believe us? We are telling the truth." I was very disappointed that we did not believe them. I do not want to rule out that they are not telling the truth. I came to the conclusion they're some kind of spirits.
Did the boys tell the truth? Did the tiny aliens really land in Stowell 45 years ago? After listening to so many personal stories of UFO encounters, I am looking forward to meeting Judy Satori, someone who believes that a group of star beings are in communication with her. As the famous cosmologist Carl Sagan once asked, "Are we really alone?"
Does extraterrestrial life exist?
I see them within my third eye.
The light was very weird.
What I saw was not an ordinary object. I believe what I saw was a UFO.
They tried to capture, one of them was shot.
We have billions and billions of galaxies and planets. Life does not flourish only on Earth. There must be other Earth-like planets.
Before we meet with Judy Satori, I met the National Space Agency to meet with the founder, Datuk Dr. Mazlan, an astrophysicist and a senior United Nations diplomat who was selected to be the Director of the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs and Deputy Director General of the United Nations Office in Vienna.
Dr. Mazlan, from a scientific point of view, as a scientist, can you give me your take on the existence of UFOs?
I myself have not seen a UFO before. However, UFOs in general, 97% can be ascribed to very earthly things. But about 3% still remain mysterious. And so, when something is not completely explained, one should keep an open mind. And I kept an open mind.
From all that you know, what is your take on extraterrestrial life forms?
You're looking at it purely from the scientific point of view, the question to does extraterrestrial life exist? It's a yes. It's a categorically positive answer. And I say that because life will evolve when the conditions are right. They would be on a planet. And life cannot evolve on a star. There's not only just our galaxy, but there are also billions and trillions of other galaxies. Astronomers believe that extraterrestrial life can occur. But it's not necessarily you and I.
Could it be that extraterrestrial beings actually have no form per se, but only comes in the form in which the mind perceives, sees, and proves to be?
No, extraterrestrials are not necessarily just in the mind, because if life evolves on a certain planet, they are as real as you and I. The only thing is, depends on the environment on the planet. So, well, you all call aliens, but I would call it extraterrestrial life. So there's so many forms it can take, and yet we're so boring. We just show them in this face and the big eyes.
But the interesting point today is that some aliens or ETs seem to be communicating with a group of humans like Judy Satori. If these intelligent beings exist, would this support the truth of UFO sightings? A corporate lady for many years of her life, Judy started her spiritual healing work 8 years ago and became an energy messenger for a federation of extraterrestrial beings known as the Galactic Council, or what she prefers to call star beings.
I think star beings, because they come from the stars.
Tell me a little bit about your connection with the star beings from what you understand. Are they real? Are they not?
In my understanding, in my experience, they're real. And this is because I feel their energy. I don't see them like standing in front of me, like I'm seeing you, but I see them within my third eye, within my inner sight. And I have a very strong impression of what they look like.
What do they look like?
Very tall, and they have eyes that are like this, upturned eyes, like this.
Right.
And they resonate with different colour vibrations according to what they are actually vibrating at.
What is light language?
I think the interesting thing about the star light language is that many people, everybody can speak their version of what really are soul languages, sacred languages. As people open, as people go through their own ascension process, they will often start to speak in a form of light language, which is their own sacred language. And the translation is, we are here with you. We bring you love, we bring you peace. We ask that you open your heart to expand your horizons, to expand your vision, to feel the truth behind the words. The second thing is to work with source energy or God energy to do something which is to do with recoding human DNA, to activate more of our true human potential by speaking the words of light, sound and energy, vibration, which switch on dormant aspects of our humanity, what it is to be human. And this is what the Lyrans have to say. It's also to switch on part of our DNA code, which is to do with memory, remembering the truth of ourselves and where we come from in that time of the beginning.
My experience of listening to Judy, especially on the concept of DNA encoding and light language, really stretched my mind. It is a sharing that opened my eyes to different realities. To Judy, the purpose of speaking the light language is to ultimately increase the vibrations of Earth from the current lower third dimension to the original fifth dimension.
And the Syrians, they're here with us and they say, you are like us, we are like you. There is no difference really between us now because the Earth is vibrating in this fifth dimension, and so are we.
It was indeed intriguing speaking to Judy Sartori, and I wonder if one day she will be invited by NASA to join their conference on preparing the world for extraterrestrial or star being contact. Would the search for lives beyond Earth eventually include contacts by ETs that are spiritual in nature and to support the studies of UFO sightings?
NASA is not the first body that has done this. There has been many meetings throughout the world. The Royal Society in London, and scientists gather with theologians and astronauts to discuss this. If we ever detect life, whether it's bacterial life or even intelligent life, that will be the biggest discovery to human beings, just to know for sure that there is life outside of our Earth. That is a very profound discovery from religious, cultural point of view.
It is without a doubt that everybody is interested in UFOs, aliens, outer space. However, based on the stories I have heard, what the normal person on the streets going through their daily lives have shared, I believe that the truth of their existence may not always come from scientific research, structured methods, and high-tech laboratories. Sometimes the truth just simply exists in our normal day-to-day lives. And the existence of aliens and the presence of UFOs may just be right there. Like I always say, what we see may not be real, and what is real we may not see.